Hello everybody and welcome back to Dusty Lane Farm. Are you ready for another Bible story? If you guys remember the last Bible story that we did that was a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Elisha and we talked about Naaman and that he was a prophet of God, and we talked about Elijah before that and that he was a prophet of God, and that those two people had really proven the power of God. Well, as we move forward, people forget these things. And they had a whole series of bad kings. Now, I'm not sure how many years that was, but it was a long time. It were many, many years down the road. Probably 100, I don't know, but a long way. And then this king was born named Josiah. Now, Josiah became the king when he was only 8 years old. And we're in, again, 2 Kings chapter 22. You can hear about the boy king. You can read about Josiah, the boy who became king at 8 years old. Well, Josiah was a really good boy. And he started following God and started following the things you should do right from the start. And he started, now, all these bad kings had let the temple fall into disrepair. People were back to following false gods like Baal. How many times do you got to prove Baal is fake? But people started following him again. And they had all these mean kings that were only in it for themselves. They had only tried to get rich and live this life of extravagance. Well, Josiah comes along, and he starts trying to restore the Word of God and things that you should do. And he was fixing the temple back up. And then they were in the temple fixing things back up, and they find the book of the law that Moses wrote. Well, that's also in the Bible. That's known as the book of Leviticus. All right? So the book of Leviticus is the book of the law. And Josiah started reading the book of the law, and he had people reading it to him, and he just got so upset. He's like, it says that he tore his clothes. He was so sad because they had drifted so far away from God and His rules and His laws, and everybody. And he was so what's called repentant. He was so sorry that had happened, and he prayed to God. He's like, we're so sorry. And then and people started following God again, and the temple was restored. And God appeared to another prophet and said, so tell Josiah, because he's repentant, because he's done what he's supposed to do, then he's going to be saved from persecution. Because I'm getting ready to rain down on the people of Israel because they won't follow me and they won't do what they're supposed to do. But because Josiah is repentant and leading people the right way, then he will be forgiven through that period. So in his life, in his generations, they won't see this torment. And it does. It gets really bad after him, and we're going to talk about that next week. By the way, do y'all remember Miss Starr? She's the goat that's in here. I used to have her up in my lap doing Bible stories, and now she's a full-grown goat. But anyway, so let's kind of break that down a little bit. Let's think about it from the people, not the evil kings. I think the evil kings started right out being evil, no doubt. But I think the people probably started out with, that ain't what the law says. But then little bit by little bit by little bit, they let bad things seep into their life. And pretty soon, after a long time, now we got to remember this is generations from Elijah to Josiah. This is a long time. I don't know how many years, probably 100. I don't know. But I think little bit by little bit, people started letting those bad things into their life, And now everything is absolutely sinful. And again, I don't think it started that way. I think it started out with probably a few people saying, that ain't right. And then somebody else said, oh, look, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is what the king's saying. And then little bit by little bit, everybody started kind of drifting. And then families and generations come along, and pretty soon they're forgetting about the book of the law and about God. Excuse me. So, I think that's the way it is in our lives with people. I think people start out, if you're a Christian and you're going to church and your family goes to church, I think people start out knowing what's right, and then little bit by little bit, they let things kind of come into their life. They drift away, and they start doing things that aren't right, and then pretty soon your whole life's kind of a wreck, kind of like Israel was. Because trust me, whatever is, if it's happening in the world and it's against the God, if it's against God and Jesus and it's happening in the world and you're doing those things, your life's going to be a wreck. It happens, okay? Take it from an old guy with a gray beard. I've seen it happen with many people. So, if you don't want your life to be a wreck, if you don't want your life to be ruined, the way to do that is to continue to follow God. And sometimes that might be different from your friends who don't follow God. What's called being of the world, or being worldly, or following the world. If you're doing those things, it's going to wind up being a wreck. I really believe there's that little voice in the back of your head. People say God's talking to me, and I didn't understand that for a long time. And now I understand. It's not like a voice. It's not the voice that you hear. It's that feeling that you get that, I shouldn't be doing that. And you know it. You know it's there. People know to do good versus evil. People do know that. I believe that, and I'll always believe it. But some people choose which path they're going to follow. Now, I hope today's story, you get something from it. Let's read about Josiah, the boy king, and again, 2 Kings chapter 22. And we're going to continue doing these Bible stories. We're going to get back in gear as fall kicks in. And we just thank y'all so much for watching our videos, and I hope everybody has a great day.